Hey guys, what's up? This is Cheyenne. Came today to make this video to talk to you guys about this police and thief game that I saw just come up on Twitter randomly. Saw people were talking about it and decided to check it out. It seems like it has pretty cool mechanics. I just kind of want to give my thoughts about what I think about the game and kind of what you should be aware about if you want to invest in this project. So I should say this is not financial advice at all, so anything I say isn't meant to kind of get you to invest in this project or not. It's just my thoughts and things that you should consider if you do want to consider investing in this project. So I'm not affiliated with this project, and I'm not being paid to say any of my opinions here. So that being said, let's get into it. So we have this police and thief game, and this is the front page. So it's just policeandthief.game. Let me lower this so you can see policeandthief.game. And so when you get on the website, it looks like this. We have like this pixel art. It looks pretty cool. You have this white paper that I think is the first thing you should look at. It basically describes all the mechanics. It describes, at first, it's just this story about, I guess, like Joe Bank. He's got this big bank, and you've got these thieves that are kind of taking money from the bank, and you've got cops that can arrest thieves and take money from the thieves stealing money from the bank. So basically, the thing that it's important to note is that these tokens the NFTs are limited, and so is the loot token. So to kind of play this game, you pay some price to mint a NFT, and that will either be a thief or a police. So the first 10,000, this has already happened. You just paid 1.7 AVAX. You would mint either a thief or police. There's a 90% chance to mint a thief and 10% chance to mint a police. And so now that was Gen 0. Now we're into Gen 1 with these prices. So you actually pay in loot. And so the loot is a token that's native to this game, and it's what you earn from having your NFTs staked and participating in the game. So right now it's 20,000 loot to make a new token, and there's kind of a new mechanic involved there now. So whenever you mint, now there's a 10% chance that you actually do not get either a police or a thief. So what happens is you have a 10% chance of when you mint, your NFT, whether it would have been a police or a thief, automatically goes to someone else who owns a police. So that's new from Generation 0, so that didn't happen, and now that does happen. So that means you have an 80% chance to mint a thief, a 10% chance to mint a police, and then a 10% chance to actually lose the 20,000 loot that you've invested in. And as we can see, that this will increase. The price is going to double pretty soon, and then eventually it's going to be $60,000 or 60,000 loot to mint one of these tokens. So if we go back real quick, we can take a look. And I do think, yeah, we are pretty close to getting into this 40,000 loot mint price. So see, this was Gen 0, which was the 1.7 AVAX. We're right now in the 20,000 loot to mint, and there's only about 660 left to mint before the price doubles. So I think that's pretty big. And let me come back into this. So that's something to keep in mind, that like the price is going to double right now pretty soon. So if you see this video, you hopefully can still get in to mint at this cheaper price if you do want to. But let me talk about why this is important in just a bit. So let's describe the mechanics. So I talked about how you pay to mint, and then you have your NFTs. It could either be a thief or a police or nothing. So what does a thief do? So the thief, you get to rob the bank, and so you accumulate 10,000 loot every day, and that's prorated to the second. So when you do that, when you have your thief officially, right? Because you can mint and actually get nothing, but if you mint, you get a thief. It's not stolen from you. You can stake it, and so you get that 10,000 loot every day. That means in 2 days, if the price is if it's still the 20,000 loot, you actually make your money back from buying a thief in 2 days. And obviously, if you with the 10,000 loot or with 20,000 loot after 2 days, you could go in and do another mint. Maybe you get a thief, maybe you get a police, maybe you get nothing. Or you can just sell it back and, you know, cover your costs. And that's if the token price stays the same, right? So if the price of loot goes up or down, then you're affected in that regard. Then the other thing you can do is, so you are accumulating this loot, but when you actually want to claim the loot, you only get 80%, and the rest is actually going to be split amongst police. And the way that that is done is proportional to a certain trait that the police have that we're going to talk about later. So you only actually get 80%. So technically, it does take you a little more than 2 days to recover your initial investment, given the price of loot stays the same. So that's something to keep in mind. And you can also unstake your thief. So what happens here is you get back your staked NFT, but you have a 50% chance to lose all of the loot that your thief has earned from being staked. If that happens, all that loot is going to be split amongst police, again, proportional to that particular trait that they have that we'll talk about later. But the other important thing is that you can only unstake your thief if it has accumulated a minimum of 20,000 loot. So basically, you have to have 20,000 loot stored up on that staked thief. And if you take it off, you will for sure keep your thief. So like it's an NFT that you will have forever, as long as, you know, you minted it properly, it didn't get stolen from you. You unstake with 20,000 loot. You may lose all the loot, but you still have the thief. And you can, well, that's nice, is because you can sell that thief on the secondary market. But losing that loot is potentially bad, so it gets split amongst all the police. But the thing to note about this is that in this next section, it talks about how basically the loot is capped, right? So you might be thinking that, okay, like all these people are staking their NFTs, they're earning all this loot, it's coming out of nowhere basically. Like, you know, is it going to go worthless, or like what's the end to that? And so it does end. So the maximum supply that you will ever have of loot is 5 billion. Keep in mind each NFT is earning 10,000 a day, and there's basically 40,000 possible NFTs in total. The police are a bit different, right? Because the thieves are really the ones actually minting. But anyway, so the maximum supply is 5 billion. And it says once it reaches 2.4 billion, the staking faucet turns off. So I think that means that like there's not going to be, your thieves are not going to be generating anymore. So why that's interesting is that your thief, if you don't unstake it when you have 20,000 and then the faucet turns off, I think you will never be able to unstake that thief, and you'll never be able to actually sell it back to the market. And that's something you might want to do. So it's kind of like a game to, you know, maybe you steal some loot from this bank, but then you want to unstake it so that you can actually sell your thief or something. But, you know, is it going to be worth it? We don't know. You know, like is someone going to buy a thief if they can't acquire loot anymore? Similar games to this, like there's one game called it's called like Wolf Game. That game, like they've built kind of like land and farmers and other aspects of the game past their like kind of first chapter, if you will. So that might happen with this, right? Like the thief NFT you might be able to use for some other type of game, but we don't know yet. So I guess for now you kind of want to maybe, you know, stake your thief, earn some loot, but then if you want to sell it back, you can unstake it and then sell it on the secondary market. But, you know, who knows what the prices are going to be at that time, or even what the price of loot is going to be at that time. So that's something to consider. So we talked about this. So basically, like when the supply reaches 2.4 billion, the staking is going to stop, but the developers are going to, I guess, get 600 million that they're going to mint for themselves, and then also community rewards is going to be at 2 billion. I guess that's going to be distributed somehow amongst the community of people, I guess, that own the NFT. So that being said, then, so with the police, there's a 10% chance that you mint the police. You know, as we've discussed, so 80% you get a thief, 10% police, 10% nothing. So the police have this trait, which is their alpha value, right? So that goes from 5 to 8, and the higher your alpha value, the more likely you are going to actually be able to steal one of those newly minted NFTs, right? So if I come along and I pay the 20,000 or however much it is loot to mint an NFT, the higher your alpha value is for the police that you've owned and that is staked, the higher chance you have of being the one that actually gets that NFT that I would have gotten from minting. So that's pretty interesting. And then also, the higher your alpha value, the more proportion of loot that you will earn from the pool of, the pool of the 20% that is being taken from the thieves' income, right? So whenever a thief claims, they get 80%, and then the 20% goes to a pool where it's split amongst all the police, proportional to that alpha value. Yeah, and keep in mind, when a thief tries to unstake and they have 20,000, the full amount that they could lose at 50%, that full amount also goes in the pool, and again, is distributed pro rata corresponding to the trait. So that's interesting. And then the other interesting thing is that the police, there isn't that 80% split like there is with thieves. So police actually get they could claim all of the loot that they've earned, right? They're not splitting it with anyone else. So you get, like it says here, you get that 20% bribe. That's what they call it. So the flavor text here is that the thieves are robbing this bank, and then you, as a corrupt cop, you are being bribed off with 20% of that, that treasury that's being stolen from the thieves, and you're not going to arrest them. So you can get all your loot, and then the other nice thing here is there isn't that risk where the loot amount that's earned from staking runs out. So you will always be able to unstake your police, right? There's no risk of that. You don't lose any loot. You always just get all the loot back. You always get your police back. No risk there. And then no risk of, the loot running out and you not being able to unstake your police, where there could be that risk for you unstaking your thief. That's also kind of interesting. And police, by the way, are running more expensive, about twice as expensive. Last time I checked, but we'll check here again. But last I checked, police were about double the price of thieves, which is interesting because it's like 9 times kind of harder, or eight times harder to mint a police than it is a thief. So, but then again, we don't know how much how much you actually earn from a police. Is kind of variable and not necessarily, like, maybe that price is worth it, maybe it's not. If the police is earning twice as much, even though it's a little rare, is it worth twice as much? Is it worth more? We don't know. And then in the end, after, like, if there's another kind of step to this, like, the police are just very rare as well, so maybe they're just worth more as NFTs in general. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Besides all of this, there's also this money laundering aspect. So you can come over here. I'll show you staking in a second, but basically they also have this this screen here where you can basically provide liquidity in one of these pools with your loot instead of selling it back, right? So you're staking your NFTs, whatever, you're collecting your loot, and you can come here and you can basically farm LP rewards here. What's interesting about this is I saw that they have, it says it ends in 121,000 blocks, like after these have been mined. So I guess you earn, like, this is a pretty crazy APR, but I guess this is offered only for a limited time. If we can take a look here. So this is the loot AVAX price. If you see at the very beginning, the price went straight down, right? This is because if we look again at the game, let's see here. Let's go to minting real quick. So this is where we're at. These first 10,000 cost AVAX to mint, right? And why is that important? So no one was buying loot. So people paid AVAX to buy these NFTs, and they were gaining loot. But no one wanted to buy loot because you couldn't really do anything with loot yet, right? Because before the Gen 0 were all sold out, you would just buy it with AVAX. And so there was no reason to have the loot token. So that's why people were just selling the loot token. And that's why this thing happened. And because there was a lot of selling pressure, right? Because there's no reason to hold on this loot token. I want to get paid because I want to recover my initial investment. So I'm going to sell all my loot token. That drives the price down. The same thing can happen once the loot stops minting. If there's no reason for me to buy loot, I'm not going to buy loot. And no one's going to buy loot. The price is going to go down because people are just going to sell all this loot they've accumulated from all these NFTs. So that's something to keep in mind. But now what happens when this this threshold crosses, well, like I said, the price to mint is actually going to double. So technically, two things can happen in my eyes. So in theory, like if the demand stays the same, it costs more now. So people might want to FOMO in, and so technically, like it's these NFTs are kind of twice as valuable, right? It's a big jump from they cost 20,000 and then they're going to cost 40,000. The other thing that can happen is that people just may not want to, the demand might change. People are like, okay, well, it's too expensive for me now. I don't want to kind of, buy into this project or whatever. And if you don't have people buying loot, then also you're gonna be stuck with people that just have a bunch of loot and then they want to sell it, and that's gonna take the price. And this is pretty drastic, right? Because this one technically, even though this is going up linearly, we have 20,000, 20,000. This doubling is going to be a pretty sharp, change. So I'm just curious to see what happens with that. That's going to happen very soon. So basically, the way that this kind of works is you come on here, you buy loot from Trader Joe, right? Whatever, you use AVAX. I'm not going to go into a tutorial of this. If you want to see a tutorial about how to kind of buy these things, and go through it. I'm just going to show you a very brief overview, but there are other videos on YouTube. If you search Police and Thief game tutorial or whatever, I'm sure something will come up. They'll go more in detail about it, about how to get your wallet set up, AVAX, etc., etc. But just quickly, I'll show you. You would basically mint here, and if you have enough, you just mint whatever. You have the token, buy loot there, so it just shows you the price, and then it might cost you more later on. Anyway, so let me come over to the staking page. So what will happen is that you will have tokens that will be unstaked once you buy them. So, assuming your NFT doesn't get stolen by someone else, you'll have your NFT showing up here, whether you got a thief or a police. You will basically click on one of these, you will select it, there'll be a button to stake it, and then it'll show up over here. So now, see, I have 3 NFTs here. So I have 2 thieves and 1 police, and so they're all earning some loot. And basically, you can click as many as you want and just claim the loot and then go sell it. And you can also unstake as well. So every second, your NFTs are going to be earning more loot. So if we refresh the page here, let's see, like we have 1,054. Let's refresh. We got 1,060. So yeah, 10,000 are earned every day, and it's prorated by the second. So what I did was I minted these 2, and then I kind of wanted to have a police, so I bought one on the secondary market. If we go on the secondary market here, so this is kind of, this is NFTtrade.com. This is kind of the secondary marketplace for these NFTs, but it's kind of like, this is just like OpenSea on Avalanche. What I've been looking at is looking at the price of police and the floor price. So if we refresh this, we'll get updated values. So it looks like we got the floor price of 5.95 Avalanche, and then you can buy a police right now at 13.89. And why is this important is that we said that it costs 20,000 loot to buy one of these NFTs. So if we go here and we see that this is 5.74 AVAX currently to mint, but you have the chance of getting a police and you have the chance of losing all your money, you could instead come over here and buy the floor for just a regular thief, or you could buy a police, which is, a little bit over double the floor price right now. So here, if we reset this filter, we can take a look at the thief. So yeah, so the floor, I guess there's one for 5.5 right now, and it kind of goes up from there. So yeah, it's interesting. You might want to, you might just want to pick one up here instead of going through the interface directly, and I've done that. It works fine. You would buy an NFT there, you connect your wallet here, it would show up as unstaked, you stake it, same process, everything works that way. But you also might want to unstake your thief and sell it. So yeah, these are just things to consider, I guess. Again, yeah, I'm not affiliated with this, but I thought I would try this out. So basically for me, I'm earning, let's just say that these are kind of roughly earning the same. It's about, so you earn 10,000 loot a day, which is about $309 currently. I know the price of Avalanche seems to be going down a little bit, but anyway, it should maybe come back up, I'm not sure. But at the moment, yeah, each NFT is earning me $309 per day. So it's about, you know, $900 per day with the 3. But the other thing, again, like the staking is going to end, right? So these loot tokens could go to 0 after a certain amount of days. And I guess it's saying, so if there's 50,000 NFTs, maybe I said 40,000 before, but I guess in this stage there's going to be 20,000, but in the rest there's 10,000. So there's 50,000 total. If you have 50,000, let's do this math real quick here. If we have 50,000 NFTs and they're each earning 10,000 per day, that's 500 million per day. And so we're talking about 2.4 million, 2.4 billion would happen basically in like 5 days if all of these were minted and staked. You know, we have to subtract a little bit off from the police, which aren't actually like earning, right? The thieves are the only ones that are actually like minting new tokens. I think that's what they mean when they say the 2.4. The police are just kind of stealing the existing funds that the thieves make. But if the thieves make 2.4 billion, all of this is going to stop, and we might need to wait for another chapter of this game. And that would happen in 5 days, like less than 5 days. Or, I mean, we're rounding up, but just let's just say 5 days once everything is being staked. So this right now doesn't seem sustainable unless there kind of is another phase to all this, which there might be. We're just not sure yet, and we haven't heard of that, so I would guess would keep that in mind as well. But yeah, that being said, guys, thanks so much. Let me know if you check out this project. It seems like fun, but definitely don't put in money that you can't afford to lose. Anyways, cheers.